unforgettable, but he's one of the few guys that has won back-to-back. Seriously. So, and he also composed the music on the original video game series. So you're in for a great treat. Enjoy. of Us, Gustavo Santaolalla, the Emmy-winning composer. So we are 4 episodes into season 2 of The Last of Us. I have to give you a spoiler warning, but we're meaning on what has already been out there, but we're going to try not to spoil too much. So
the video package.
That's a really uncomfortable message to give the audience. So, Gustavo,
yes.
Tell me about, you came to compose for the video game.
Correct.
After Brokeback Mountain, after that. Tell me about coming to it. What did you like about this video?
Well, I'm a terrible gamer to start with. Horrendous. But we have a son that at the time that I started working on the game, he was in his mid-teen years. And he was an avid player and a really good player. And I really enjoyed watching him play. So watching him play, I always thought, well, if someday someone connects in an emotional level with a player, it's going to really make a revolution, in this. Because I'm totally open to any media, where music can play a role, right? So after the Oscars, I got several offers, some, important projects, big relevance. They could have big relevance, and they did. But it was more of the same. So I sort of, waited for the right moment. I always say that whatever achievements I got had to do with the things that I did, but also with the things that I said no to. So I didn't want to do those kind of games. Not that I have anything else, but it was not. I knew what I was looking for. And then I met Neil, and Neil just said, the magic words. He just said that, I want to connect in an emotional level with the game. And then when we learned that people were crying playing the game, we said, well, there's something here, and the way that the fans of the game and the fans of the story, because I always felt I was writing music for a story, not really thinking about a video game, but more thinking about the story. Really, when you know the story and stuff, it's impossible not to connect in an emotion, and the fans are really. I don't know, they have a devotion for the music, really. It's different. I've been blessed that I've always sort of connected with certain people with whatever I've done, but the fans of the music of The Last of Us are really something special,
Well, I was going to say, one of the secrets of success with anything a project that's adapted from a video game is fans notice, when it's being faithful. And in that case, when it comes to the music here,
yes.
with the show,
yes.
Are you adapting yourself?
Well,
Are you using, and that's going to lead us to talking about Joel, episode 2.
No, of course, each media has its own twists and turns and things, and that's why it's so important to have somebody like David, by my side, because he's, that's such a very important part of the show. So it is, different in certain sense. But the spirit. I think we both. Even in the stuff that David does, that is different. But there is a connection with the sounds and with the approach that we have, and of course we try to keep the spirit of the music that was created for that story. I had the honor that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mason said that my music is part of the DNA of The Last of Us, and so I think it would have been really different if we would have done something totally different from the game, for the show. So we try to keep true to what make the music of The Last of Us what it is.
Can you expound more on your collaboration, how it starts, before as you go into production of this season?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a pretty strange one because we didn't actually meet until we were done with the first season. But I've been a huge admirer for such a long time. The Motorcycle Diaries is like one of my favorite scores of all time. And so when I came to it, I also wasn't a big gamer. I didn't have a huge experience with The Last of Us, but I did have a deep respect for his music, and I wanted to approach my portions of the score with the same respect. So, like Gustavo insinuated, I think there is like a, they're cousins. My portions of the score are is a cousin to Gustavo. I like to think it's like the character of my portions of the score and the character of your portions. We like stumbled upon the same pawn shop in the post-apocalypse, and it's the same.
I took PVC pipe and you.
Yeah, it's like the same beat-up banjos and guitars, but his character is like there's this emotional core to it. It's maybe his character is like a guitar master there's an emotion to embracing these instruments again, and my character is more like an electronic musician who's never touched a guitar, but it's like, okay, how am I going to make music with this stuff? So in that way, we're sort of drawing on the same palette, and
it's amazing. I mean, how organic is David's stuff, which is very important to keep with the aesthetics and the sonic fabric of The Last of Us. So even if it's the electronic aspect is there, but it's really organic, very organic.
What I love is there's this delicacy with not just the emotions that's on the screen, but like, for example, in episode 2, Abby falls into the snowdrift of those that are infected, the zombies, and essentially, and she's running away, and it's an even cello. That's the interesting thing. It's not this kind of like loud, brassy thing. And I just thought it worked, and it was such an interesting choice.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is to do with the DNA that Gustavo established, especially his use of negative space and smaller sounds, that we didn't need to go giant blockbuster for things like that. But a lot of it's also Craig and Neil, keep us really honest with, obviously Neil was the creator of the game, and Craig is also a huge lover of the games. So they wanted to make sure it had that same spirit as Gustavo intimated. But the other thing that's interesting is that a game is a really active experience. Like when you're playing, you are the character. And I think they wanted to make sure that when we move it to a TV show where all of a sudden we're watching characters, we don't all of a sudden feel like we're watching the story, that we want to still feel we're a part of it. So some of it, with the action scenes, they don't want it to sound like, typical action music. I was going to say silly action music, but it would be typical.
Yes.
And they want it to be very, of this world and of the world that you guys established in the game.
So in episode 2, something happens to Pedro Pascal's Joel. And you knew it was coming because it's in the game.
Yes.
And anyone who plays the game knows it. How did you deal with that musically? Because in the scene, I mean, it's, again, delicate.
Well,
very delicate. It's like a respect.
I mean, I think there's part of the way we have dealt in the game and in the series too, of this sort of crucial, very fragile moments, is to keep that to the use of silence, the use of space, I mean, it's as beautiful as it is, because I love to play, and especially like the theme with an orchestra, it's great, But part of the thing of the music of The Last of Us is that, it's done with very few instruments, and it's just there, We never want to sound melodramatic. We never want to overpower the scene. I mean, if the scene is happening, the music should. I mean, it's so delicate, the balance between what's happening on screen and where you intervene, right? But I don't know. I think we found a way to deal with that. That has to do again with recognizing the fragile moments, and how not to overpower those things with sort of melodramatic stuff,
HBO's The Last of Us. Thank you,